and lucky to be joined by the former Chief Consultant for Sports for the Government of Punjab, Mr. Shahid Birk is joining us. Shahid, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Sports Extra.
Mr. Anand.
Right, sir. First of all, how big of an achievement is this? The whole nation is very, very proud. Our boy Arshad Nadeem getting a gold medal. How big is this for Pakistan?
Mr. Ahmed, first of all, my congratulations to all Pakistan. This is great success for Pakistan when the flag of Pakistan is raised in the front of world and national anthem is played. Everyone feels proud to be a Pakistani. A part of this, other athletes get motivation. When this kind of success achieved, nationalism is born and everyone feels proud. This is huge success. No one has achieved this in the history of Pakistan. So this is a big achievement.
Right, sir, he was carrying an injury. Now, as a person who's been involved with sports yourself and as a former athlete, you understand the difficulties our athletes go through. Why he didn't go towards a proper rehab, carried that injury in the athletics championships as well, now with the same injury performed in the Commonwealth and now is going to the Islamic Games as well?
Mr. Anand, this is a good question that you have asked. People do not know the whole thing. Let me explain it through you. There are minor injuries in athletics. Arshad also had an injury on his elbow, which was seen by Dr. Asad of Pakistan Olympics from the beginning. Beside Alisher Bajwa from America, who had come to the Commonwealth only for Arshad, was seeing him. They have been living together for 5 days and have also done test ETC. He was also in touch with America and was giving consultancy. Athletes have to maintain their skills, training and fitness with these manner of injuries. Is a part of athletics. It's not a big issue.
Right, definitely. That clears the understanding as well, that we see that this injury, when we talk about it, of course he was carrying it, but manageable as well. Now, very important to understand this, Mr. Shahid, our athletes, despite limited resources, have always performed well. But, we should develop an infrastructure. We need to talk about the situation in Pakistan. We saw the wrestlers performing well. We've seen weightlifters performing well. We've seen Arshad performing brilliantly, winning a gold medal, but with very limited resources. How do we improve the infrastructure in Pakistan? What should be the way forward?
Mr. Rahman, this is a good question also. There is no lack of infrastructure in Pakistan, but it needs to be made according to international standards. The infrastructure that exists is not given access to the people of Pakistan. For example, if the Punjab Sports Board has an athletic track, there is no entry with the membership. Second, we don't have anything because physical education is not a part of our syllabus. The subject of physical education not like other subjects. So the reason for not have physical education is that there are no international level coaches. Punjab and KPK now have a lot of infrastructure. It should be well maintained and need to be well administrated. So we need actually international level of infrastructure.
So we develop that infrastructure and, we talk about developing international standards as well. That becomes very, very important at this point as well. And I understand, like you mentioned as well, that we need to reach that level of international, but we need a proper sports policy. It's been discussed so much in Pakistan. Of course, after the 18th Amendment, we understand sports becomes a provincial subject, but we can have, a serious sports policy as a nation. What would you suggest should be the future course of action as far as our sports policy is concerned, which can be implemented throughout Pakistan?
After the 18th Amendment, sports have also gone to the provinces. There are also many problems that need to be fixed. We have sport policy and we are not proper following on it. In 2019-20, Punjab has made its own new sports policy. Still, Sindh does not have a sports policy yet. And the Pakistan Sports Board need to review its policy, which should be made in collaboration with the Pakistan Olympics. I will give you example of India. A few years ago, they revisited their sports policy, targeted the Olympic Games 4 years before the Olympics, did the talent hunt, trained the athlete in foreign countries, and provided employment to the athletes, and in addition to the private sector, activate for sponsorship. And they got very good results. We should first set the target, give a training camp for a long period of time, and also order international standard coaches for outside or send the athletes abroad for training. Sports should be revived in the department. Apart from this, sports should be declared essential in schools, colleges and universities. We will have to bring sport culture in our country. NOC should not be given to any school, college or university which does not have a playing field. Any physical education should be a subject like another subject as it is in foreign countries.
So that's a very important point, and I was studying, some statements by former winners of different World Athletics events as well. All of them said that the main difference is now is because there is no sports is not treated as a subject on the grassroots level. And I want to talk about grassroots levels because unfortunately we're a cricket dominating society. Everything, every attention, every grassroots structure is talked about only for cricket. But why not for athletics, sir? If we see a young person running very fast, we would immediately discourage him that there is no future. If we see somebody wanting to become a swimmer, we will discourage him. We won't let him go and pursue this in a future course of action like you mentioned, which I think should be a changing dynamic if we put it in the form of schools and colleges. Even when we were in college, we had athletics, as a course of.
And after the 18th Amendment, sports have also gone to the provinces. There are also many problems that need to be fixed. We have sport policy and we are not proper following on it. In 2019-20, Punjab has made its new sports policy. Still, Sindh does not have a sports policy yet. And the Pakistan Sports Board need to be review its policy, which should be made in collaboration with the Pakistan Olympics. I will give you example of India. A few years ago, they revisited their sports policy, targeted the Olympic Games 4 years before the Olympics, did the talent hunt, trained the athlete in foreign countries, and provided employment to the athletes, and in addition to the private sector, activate for sponsorship. And they got very good results. We should first set the target, give a training camp for a long period of time, and also order international standard coaches for outside or send the athletes abroad for training. Sports should be revived in the department. Apart from this, sports should be declared essential in schools, colleges and universities. We will have to bring sport culture in our country. NOC should not be given to any school, college or university which does not have a playing field. Any physical education should be a subject like another subject as it is in foreign countries.
So that's a very important point, and I was studying, some statements by former winners of different World Athletics events as well. All of them said that the main difference is now is because there is no sports is not treated as a subject on the grassroots level. And I want to talk about grassroots levels because unfortunately we're a cricket dominating society. Everything, every attention, every grassroots structure is talked about only for cricket. But why not for athletics, sir? If we see a young person running very fast, we would immediately discourage him that there is no future. If we see somebody wanting to become a swimmer, we will discourage him. We won't let him go and pursue this in a future course of action like you mentioned, which I think should be a changing dynamic if we put it in the form of schools and colleges. Even when we were in college, we had athletics, as a course of subject. We had competitions throughout colleges and universities as well. But, cricket dominating society, how do we come out of this?
Very good question, Mr. Rahman. This is very good question. I will again say that sports should be promoted and made compulsory in school and colleges. There are inter-school and inter-collegiate sports competition. First, there are Tahsil level, district level competition. Then the good talent found in the provisional level competition should be given proper professional training. A training camp should be given and they should be given job in the department from the proper training, which will increase the interest of people. If not, why would we send you and me, our children to sport if they have no future in sport? The second thing you have asked, if the cricket is playing more, there was a time when Pakistan liked to watch and play hockey. Now cricket is more popular because there is money in it, and it is also seen more on TV. In this way, one or two more athletes need to show performance, which will increase the interest of people towards other games. And if there are leagues like PSL and other games like cricket, people will also come towards these games. Finally, we need to do a lot of work on sports. So we need to sports environment of our country. Then we can achieve, and our boys will show interest in other games.
Inshallah. That is the hope. Thank you very much, Mr. Shahid Virk, former Chief Consultant for the Punjab Sports Board, Director for Sports at many levels as well, and a former athlete, for talking to us at PTV World on Sports Extra. I think Shahid Sahab has put it brilliantly that we need to develop that culture, not just in schools, but in colleges, in universities, make it mandatory, move towards public-private partnership. And I was studying a certain set of documents which highlight our sports policy, and then when you compare it not with any other major developed country, but with your neighbor India, the deficit, I think the difference of the sports budget is absolutely phenomenal. And Najib, I think that's the first thing that we need to talk about, that we want to compete with the rest of the world. We try to make a competition with Indians particularly because we call ourselves arch rivals to them. But when you look at their budget for sports, it is absolutely